Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, I'm going to be showcasing a team that I had amazing results with on day 1 of the Spring Cup. This team is built around the principle that the fast move Astonish is broken in this meta. The good Pokemon in this meta don't resist Astonish, so running multiple Pokemon with Astonish offers you tremendous neutral play. The team I ran was Lapras, Klefki as the save switch running Astonish, and Shadow Amoonguss as the closer also running Astonish. I know Klefki hasn't had a global release, I got mine at GoFest NYC, so you could potentially run Astonish Shadow Mawile in its place. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches. We get a great lead in the first match, leading into a Galarian Weezing. Opponent save switches into Cradily, and they're going to regret that decision as Klefki hits the field. Klefki has just a dominant matchup over Cradily. I'm going to look to farm up and fire off Flash Cannon. Now, Klefki can run Play Rough, but in my view, Play Rough doesn't have any targets in this meta, whereas there is a lot of Pokemon weak to Steel, so I think Flash Cannon on this Pokemon is a must. They are going to need an Overheat to KO the Klefki, but I can bring back in the Lapras. In the back is Jellicent, and oh my goodness, in Game 1, we're just winning this one purely off of alignment. The Klefki was absolutely able to shut down that Cradily, and now Amoonguss is just tearing this poor Jellicent to smithereens with Astonish. They're going to let that through. In comes the Weezing, and they know there's just no way for them to win this game. The alignment was very favorable for us. My clock should be up here very shortly. This poor Weezing just cannot Fairy Wind farm down the Amoonguss. Amoonguss is poison typing coming in clutch. Foul play is going to pick up the KO, and I take the win with all 4 shields remaining. We see a bad lead in the next match, Lapras into Starmie. I'm going to save switch into Klefki. They're staying in, and look at the Astonishes. They're getting absolutely deleted. They're almost at half HP off 4 Astonishes. Surf lands, out comes a Fire Fang Mawile. I can't get to the Flash Cannon, but Foul Play will still do a lot of damage. Opponent does actually end up committing the shield there. They could have brought in the Mawile right away, but Mawile would take a ton of damage from Astonish. Mawile is very, very frail. This team is a little bit soft to Mawile as a whole, but honestly, the Mawiles that I faced, I didn't really have any issues with. I think it would be more difficult if you faced an Astonish Mawile, because this team does not have a resistance to Astonish, because the good Pokemon in this meta don't resist it. Now I get to send in the Amoonguss, and this poor Starmie, in 7 total Astonishes, has basically been farmed down. They fire off the Surf, they have their own Astonish user in the back, and Klefki hits the field. This matchup, not the most comfortable for Amoonguss. The Astonishes will add up over time. My charge moves are not going to do a lot here either. I will go for the Foul Play, and they are going to no shield. Farming up with the Amoonguss, but the nice thing here is that Amoonguss does have a lot of bulk to it. So these Astonishes, it doesn't look like they're going to be able to farm me down. Instead, they're forced to throw energy, and with that, I should be able to close out the game with Lapras. Lapras is going to hit the field. Lapras farming up, getting to the Sparkling Aria. That's going to be enough to knock out the Klefki. And this poor Starmie had only taken 7 fast moves the whole game, but the Astonishes did too much, so that we're able to Psywave down and take the win. Great lead in the next match, leading into Dugong. Opponent save switches into Tropius, and I have a great response available, again, as I get to send in Klefki. Klefki, so dominant against many of the grass types in this format. As the Klefki user, I just get to overfarm quite significantly here. If my opponent really wants to invest a massive amount of resources and commit a lot of shields, I'm very okay with that. But if they don't, then they're just going to get knocked out with the Flash Cannon. So Flash Cannon will connect, they get KO'd, and now I don't think you've ever seen a more sad Dugong in your entire life. As Dugong is going to try and go for a farm down here against Klefki. Klefki makes the Flash Cannon. I'm going to get to a Foul Play here. They're forced to switch out and catch onto Decidueye. And this game is just so over. I now get to send in Amoonguss. And these Astonishes are just shredding through this Pokemon. They are going to be firing off the Spirit Shackle, fishing for a debuff. I shield at this point purely just to keep a little bit of HP in case they did get a debuff. But whether they get a debuff or not, this game is very, very over. They are going to connect with a Spirit Shackle now. That's going to get Amoonguss very low. In comes the Dugong, and the opponent is going to resign the match. Battling against Rise to the Occasion in the next match, and he's leading a Golisopod. Versus Golisopod, I will typically like to play out the zeros, but I want to catch the second X-Scissor onto the Klefki. So my opponent is going to strike first with the X-Scissor. I'm farming up, and I'm throwing my move right before they get there. Now, I'm expecting him to do one more and the X Scissor, so I'm going to throw a Psywave then switch, but he actually throws instantly. And this is not great for me, because this means he is just going to let this go, more than likely, and take farm on whatever he has in back. I cannot afford to concede farm, so I'm going to pivot out. It's going to be a Shadow Weezing. I send in the Klefki, and the back is Lapras, and this is looking pretty nice for me. Lapras is taking some significant damage. The Astonishes are adding up. Sparkling Aria, he can't farm down after. I build up to the back-to-back foul plays, and I'm full sending the Flash Cannon. Flash Cannon, oh, he shields it. He gets the shield call right, and suddenly, things are looking a little bit scary. The fact that he got that shield call right is brutal. I should have just gone straight foul play and I would have been in a significantly better spot. Another situation where full sending can actually be a lose con. I bring in the Amoonguss, he throws instantly, and I think I have to make a call. I'm just gonna no shield. It's gonna be the Sparkling Aria, and by no shielding that, suddenly I'm back in the game. If I can bait with a foul play, I can outpace. I'm going to make it to the Sludge Bomb as long as I'm able to successfully get a bait here. So I'm going for it. I farm up to the Sludge Bomb, bait with a foul play, get the shield, and now I should be in a winning position in this game because Sludge Bomb easily going to knock out, and I'm in a really great spot. But here I get greedy. I think the foul play can KO, and guess what? It's not going to KO. He lives on very low HP. I try to catch. I can't get the catch. And that was such a winnable game. Oh my goodness, this hurts watching it back. This was one of the few losses that I had with the team, and genuinely, it was a complete throw on my part. We've got Lapras versus Lapras in the next match. In this meta, more often than not, people are on Ice Beam, and as long as your opponent isn't on Skull Bash, then the Lapras mirror is a perfectly fine mirror to play out. Even though this is structured like an ABB team, where basically you have Lapras and then two Pokemon that absolutely destroy Ferrothorn, it doesn't really play as an ABB. Amoonguss and Mawile don't share weaknesses, so out of neutral leads, you aren't necessarily required to switch out. The only time I will try and switch out is if I can get a catch, and I do get a catch. That's the catch I didn't get against Rise, but I get it against this trainer, and catching the double resisted X Scissor just puts you so far ahead as the Klefki. Klefki now going to be hit with an Aqua Jet. Aqua Jet is going to do some pretty solid damage, but I can maximize the overfarm, and foul play will very easily KO the incredibly low health Golisopod. So down goes Golisopod. Is the opponent going to send in the third here, or will they bring in Lapras? They bring in the Lapras. I do make a foul play, which is nice. I really don't want to concede a farm down if I don't have to, so I'm just going to pivot back into my own Lapras and fire off the Sparkling Aria. Whatever damage I can get sounds good to me, because it just gets my opponent closer and closer to a range where the Shadow Amoonguss can farm down. In the back, they have Ferrothorn, and this game is over. This backline of mine just absolutely obliterates Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn just does not have a chance whatsoever. They can farm up a ton of energy, but you're going to watch Ferrothorn get absolutely bullied by this Shadow Amoonguss. Shadow Astonish hits so hard. We do get the Astonish through. No one-turn bring-in is pretty awesome, and now they are going to go for a Power Whip bait. That bait will allow them to make a Flash Cannon on 1 HP, but there's the dagger. We get the catch of the Flash Cannon onto the very low health Klefki that we saved from earlier, and now this is just a very comfortable win for the Amoonguss. Lapras brought back in, but there's two foul plays ready and waiting for it. Lapras just going to get completely overrun here. So Ferrothorn in the back, definitely where we want to see it on this team, and Shadow Amoonguss takes the win with almost its full health bar intact. We move to the next game, Lapras against Cradily. Not a good lead, but I'm going to throw one Psywave and switch to Klefki. Now this is a very important optimization, because if I switch out instantly, I'm going to be behind by a turn and I won't get the sneak. If I throw a Psywave and then switch, I'm still not going to get the sneak, but my Lapras is a little bit closer to a Sparkling Aria later in the game. So it's just free energy that I would be missing out on if I didn't play that way. Here, the Empoleon is going to take advantage of the fact that my Klefki is debuffed, and they're going to be able to hang on here, survive both foul plays and the Astonishes, and just knock me out with a Hydro Cannon. I'm going to send in the Amoonguss, because I think Amoonguss up energy could be valuable in the endgame, and the fact that Cradily gets brought in here is really nice for me. This is going to free up Lapras. Lapras no longer going to have to deal with Cradily's nonsense. I bait with the foul play, and I'm able to get the shield. To me, that felt like a pretty obvious bait, just because if they're bringing a Cradily into Amoonguss, they are guaranteed to be weak in the back. Here, I know a Sludge Bomb won't knock out from this range at -1, so I decide to shield. I'm going to be very heavily debuffed, but I want to try and overfarm as much as I can. Now, I'm thinking this will put it pretty close to knockout range. Sludge Bomb, they actually end up shielding that as well. And this is where things get very interesting. Residual energy should be very valuable on the Amoonguss if they're playing this hard for switch. They're going to switch into Jellicent, and I get to reset all those debuffs and send in Lapras. Lapras, even though it is completely walled by Jellicent, is a lot better into Jellicent than you might think. Like, look at the Psywaves plus Sparkling Arias. They add up so much, and Amoonguss is going to win CMP over Jellicent. It's not the furthest away CMP, but Amoonguss should still win it in most situations. So Jellicent now going to go for the Shadow Ball to KO the Lapras, but with the back-to-back foul plays, there's just not a lose con for Shadow Amoonguss. So I get to fire off this foul play. That's going to KO the Jellicent, and we have the second move loaded for Cradily. So not a good lead, but the team works as intended. We're able to claw back, and Shadow Amoonguss just takes over that game. We move to the next match, Lapras against Tentacruel. This is a pretty nice matchup for the Lapras. Opponent is going to save switch into Golisopod. Golisopod farming up, and I'm more than happy to strike first with the Sparkling Aria. Sparkling Aria is going to inflict some pretty nice damage. My opponent farms up quite a bit, and again, I would like to try and catch an X-Scissor if possible onto the Klefki, but my opponent ends up throwing it instantly. So that's not ideal for me. I decide that I will bank the energy and then send in Klefki. I'm very okay with them firing off an Aqua Jet here. Aqua Jet is very fine. I can survive it. I've seen the damage before, but they're running a really weird moveset on Golisopod. They're running X-Scissor Aerial Ace. I don't think that's the moveset to go for. They bring Tentacruel into the Klefki though, and the fact that this is what they brought in means that they do not have a good response to Astonish in the back, which is fair. Most teams are not prepared for Astonish. Once this video comes out, I'm well aware of the fact that people will start building stronger to it, but currently people are just not respecting Astonish. Here, I send in Amoonguss. I try for the farm down, but they make a last-second Acid Spray. Acid Spray is going to debuff my defense by 2 stages. In the back, oh my goodness. No amount of defense debuffs can save this Ferrothorn from its fate. Shadow Amoonguss is about to show us why it's so dominant in this meta. Shadow Amoonguss is going to be shielding up everything. Opponent is going to fire off Power Whip baits, but it's just not going to matter. I'm up energy, so much energy at that, and I can just apply so much pressure here. I send in the Lapras. I'm able to reset the -2 debuff on the Amoonguss and make an Ice Beam. The Ice Beam does very, very nice damage. I can send in the Klefki just to force them to throw energy. They end up switching into the Golisopod, and now they're going to switch back into the Ferrothorn. Power Whip KOs the Klefki, but I have a very comfortable win with the Amoonguss. We move to the next match, battling against Jason 2890, one of the best battlers in the world. Lapras into Cradily, not great. I throw a Psywave, I save switch into the Klefki, and he's going to stay in here and fire off the Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb will, of course, debuff my attack. Now he's going to send in Mawile. I'm hoping he does not respect this, because Flash Cannon inflicts massive damage even at -1, but he does end up respecting it. That's a bit unfortunate. I immediately send in the Lapras. I need to neutralize this Mawile. I'm hoping that he goes for Power Up Punch, but Jason is a very smart man, so he's going to go for the much harder hitting Play Rough, understanding he's only getting to 1 move. So he does make the right read there, which does make life difficult. When he brings in Cradily, I'm again going to throw 1 Psywave and then safe switch, or not even safe switch, but just pivot out into the Amoonguss. Amoonguss is now going to be met with a Rock Tomb. That does pretty significant damage, and my opponent is not switching out. I'm going to overfarm here, play to the CMP tie, going for the hard-hitting Sludge Bomb. Sludge Bomb barely does not knock out the Cradily, but Cradily is now in a range where they can get farmed down. In the back is Jellicent, and you can run from Amoonguss, but you cannot hide. Amoonguss firing off this foul play is -2, but it gets the shield. There's a Surf from Jason, and I believe as long as I bank the move on Amoonguss, I should be okay. So I bank the move, send in Lapras. Lapras is going to make it to the Sparkling Aria, and this Sparkling Aria is going to continue to chip away at that Jellicent more and more. But now I realize this game will be a true 50-50. He can switch. He has a move. I say he stays in. I click the foul play, and he catches. That's a true 50-50 right there, because if he stays in and throws his move, I win the game. But if he switches, then I lose. I predict that he stays in. He switches, and Jason takes the win. I move to the next match, and believe it or not, my next opponent in this same set is Jason once again. I save switch into Klefki. He's going to immediately switch out into the Mawile. I can make double foul play or 1 Flash Cannon. I decide to guarantee the shield here, so I full send the Flash Cannon. He tries to call that I go for double foul play. Flash Cannon lands, and I'm able to win switch. In comes Cradily, but Cradily is not going to get a Bullet Seed down. I would make a Flash Cannon, so he's forced to fire off energy. This is going to be an interesting game. I know what he has in the back, and he knows what I have in the back. So I'm actually going to bring Lapras into Cradily. I know Lapras does not have a lot of value into the Jellicent, so I'm going to use it to absorb a Rock Tomb. And then I will fire off an Ice Beam. The tricky part of this endgame is this. I cannot afford to let him KO the Lapras, because then he can apply infinite debuffs onto my Amoonguss, and I have no way of resetting them. Last game, I did 4 in CMP to Sludge Bomb, so I foul play, which wouldn't KO, anticipating the catch, and that's the beautiful thing about getting to play someone multiple times. The mind games are insane. From last game, I did 4 in Sludge Bombed, so he wanted to punish that play with a catch, but I make the read that that's what he's gonna do. I foul play, I landed the super effective damage, and now we're just completely in the driver's seat of this match, switching into Lapras, resetting the debuff, taking the farm down, and getting the 2-shield flex. We move to the next match, Lapras into Galarian Weezing. This is an amazing lead for Lapras. Opponent safe switches into Golisopod, and this is another matchup where I am going to try and go for this X-Scissor catch onto the Klefki. The Golisopods have been throwing as soon as they get the second X-Scissor, so that's what I'm going to go for. I'm going to throw 5 Psy Waves and try and get the catch and sneak. So I farm up with the Lapras, try for the catch, but great patience from my opponent, and that is actually going to be a pretty complicating factor now. The good news is considering that their lead was Weezing, I don't really need switch as long as I have energy on my Shadow Amoonguss. So I actually decided to throw away the Klefki, send in the Amoonguss. Failing the catch is unfortunate, but we saw in previous games how far ahead that catch can put me, so I still like going for it. I build up to the Sludge Bomb, baiting with the foul play, and I'm able to get a shield from my opponent. Here, I wait the turn, switch, and get the catch of what could be a Sludge or an Overheat. It is going to be the Sludge, and in the back is Ferrothorn, and this is a winning endgame for me. I'm going to fire off the Ice Beam. This will be some very nice neutral damage. Ferrothorn is going to get the farm down, but now I get to send in Shadow Amoonguss. Shadow Amoonguss, these Astonishes, inching this Ferrothorn closer and closer to range where foul play will KO. I farm up. This should be foul play range, so I'm going to fire off the foul play and pick up the knockout. Foul play into the Ferrothorn. No! They live on 1 HP, and that loses me the game. If I did one more Astonish, I could have KO'd and won because I would have not been in Sludge range, but now I'm in Sludge range, and my opponent is going to get to a second Sludge 2 turns before I get my move. In 2 more Fairy Winds, they get there, and that's just sloppy gameplay for me. I really feel like in my losses, every single one of these games that I've shown so far was winnable, which I think is an indication of a good team. This is going to be our toughest game yet, hopping to the final match, leading into Shadow Cacturn. Now, Shadow Cacturn, I'm not going to build up to the Ice Beam. I'm hoping my opponent no-shields the Sparkling Aria, because if they do, then I can just Astonish down. Klefki is going to hit the field, and Klefki is the best Pokemon on our team at dealing with Shadow Cacturn. Shadow Cacturn is going to go for a Dynamic Punch. Now there's a switch out into Lapras, and realistically, I think I should have just fired off the foul play at the Cacturn, tried to get whatever damage that I could. In comes the Lapras, though, to get absolutely smoked by a Flash Cannon. They're going to fire off a Sparkling Aria, and now I am going to try and overfarm and get to 2 moves, or be able to switch once my switch clock comes up, because I'm going to need energy if I want to beat this Cacturn. This Cacturn can prove to be a bit of a problem. I will get a farm down with the Lapras, so I'll get a move into the Cacturn, but no, it's Jellicent. I'm farming up here, and I make a pretty costly misplay. I shouldn't go for the CMP tie here. What I should do is shield and overfarm, because I'm going to need energy for this Cacturn. But instead, my opponent is going to no-shield and send in the Cacturn. This is going to be close. I don't know if I live a Dynamic Punch. It's going to be very, very close here. The opponent, they go for the Trailblaze. They overestimate how much damage Trailblaze can do. It doesn't KO. Foul Play gets the shield. We combo with the Lapras. Dynamic Punch would have been really close to knocking out there. I'm not quite sure if I would have gotten the win, but with them going for the Trailblaze, I absolutely will. So despite the fact that on paper Shadow Cacturn triple beats this team, we're able to fight back and get the win anyway. All in all, I think that Having an Astonish user anywhere on your team is going to put you at an advantage in this meta. Whether you decide to do what I did and run double Astonish, or even just run a single Astonish user, there are 4 very viable Astonish users, and probably even more that I can't think of. But Shadow Mawile, if you run it, should be on Astonish, because if you run Fire Fang, it ends up being very alignment dependent, very Feast or Famine. With Astonish, it's very neutral in a lot of situations. The other one that I didn't use is Decidueye. Decidueye, I think, is weaker than the Astonish users that I used, but it still has quite a bit of merit because Spirit Shackle Frenzy Plan is a really nice moveset. But my goodness, Klefki is just absolute monster in this meta. Absolutely adore Klefki. And Shadow Amoonguss just continually swept endgames. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is genuinely so appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.